Hey everybody, it's been a while since I made a video, so Janet's going to make a bunch of noise, I'm sure. This is just sort of, I don't know, what's new with me, I guess, and what's new with EdUBudgie, or what I'm thinking of anyways. So, what's new with me? Not much, mostly been working. I got new old chairs, I like those. Got a haircut. The woman there, I told her I wanted the same haircut, but shorter. What she heard was that I want to look like Duke Nukem. So, obviously, a graying, older version, but I'm going to roll with it. Anyways, as for EdUBudgie, if you didn't try it out, if you didn't look at the website or whatever, this is the basic desktop that you start out with. The icons are a little bit different because I use window icons on there, and the desktop's a little bit different, the wallpaper. But this is sort of what you basically started out with, and what I was thinking, I'd like to change that to make it a little bit better on memory and CPU and so on, and to make it a little bit easier actually to manage from my end as well. I liked Budgie because it's kind of familiar, kind of similar to Windows. But because of the way their settings are and the way you have to set up defaults and everything, it's kind of a hassle to use from my perspective, even though I really like it a lot. And actually the Budgie team's really cool and everything too. I talked with someone from their team anyways, briefly, who was a real nice guy. If you have an opinion on what of these 3 or 4 that I'm going to show you look best, please write it down below. I'm not just surfing for or begging for likes or comments, but I genuinely would like to know what people's opinions are. So if you see this and you have an opinion on one of these desktops, shout it out. So this one's called Budgie. Janet, knock it off. What are you doing? You're going to electrocute yourself. Whatever. So this one's called Budgie. And again, this is what I'm using now. Customized a bit, but this is what I'm using now. There's also KDE, which I don't want to use. KDE is super customizable, but I kind of want to take that ability away. Like if a student using EdUBudgie, which I might rename by the way, because I'm not, if I'm not using the Budgie desktop, I might change the name to something else. But if a student can't customize it because they don't technically know how, then A, they've got something to learn, and B, it's less likely that they're going to break something. And I hate to take that sort of Apple-ish stance, but at the same time, I don't think it's a bad thing, especially with a system so complex as Linux. So that's kind of where I don't want to use KDE because it's so tailored for customization. I don't want a whole bunch of changes made to the thing where, a teacher looks at a student's computer and everything looks totally different and becomes unfamiliar to the teacher. That said, if a student is good enough, they may possibly be able to install their own KDE desktop anyways, if they have admin rights, that is. That's what I mean by good enough. If they have admin rights and they understand how to, a student could always customize this themselves if they're into that. But I think generally, it's a bad idea to go with one of these desktops that's like super customizable, that's one of the main goals of it. Even though Linux is that way, I want to kind of pare down the options a little bit for users in general, at least. And of course, they still have the ability to add this stuff. Users could still add this stuff if they have admin rights, if they wanted to. So you're not really taking it away, but I want to start out with something cleaner, I guess. The next possible option is LXQt, but similar deal here. So LXQt is lightweight, which is nice. It's built-in Qt. Which cool, I guess. Honestly, I don't know a hell of a lot about it because I've only used it like twice. Again, it's very customizable, but I don't think I want that. One of the nice things though about LXQt is that it runs on systems with low CPU and RAM, systems that aren't very powerful. So that's nice. But I'll get into another one that I think is a better fit. Anyways, this is LXQt, and it does look nice, and you can make it look like anything else. You can customize the hell out of it, like normal, like normal with Linux. But again, I don't think this is the right fit. This is the standard Ubuntu desktop, which is called Gnome, and yeah, you pronounce the G because whatever. which is really nice, which is awesome looking. And it's kind of got an Apple sort of feel. It's got this dock along the side that's there by default, though you can move it. This is like the apps drawer that you open up and all the apps, pop up, and then you can slide side to side, or in this case with 2004 it was up and down, but newer versions it's side to side. And this looks good too, but I think, that one's Mate, sorry. But I think with Gnome, it's too resource intensive. And so that's kind of why I want to get away from that, but it's a possibility. I could use it. And it does run on low power devices, just not super well. And I'm afraid students and teachers alike are going to get frustrated with that. Speaking of which, here is Mate, Mate is based off of the older version of Gnome. It's more Windowsy. But rather than use the base Mate, there's another version called Cinnamon. And Cinnamon is the desktop used with Linux Mint. I should have searched Cinnamon desktop, but anyways. The Cinnamon desktop is Mate, but nicer, but better, with some additions. You can see the icons are kind of Windows 7-y, Windows 10-ish. The menu is simple and straightforward. Again, I'll customize things like icons, colors, desktops, yada yada. But this is fairly lightweight. I think more lightweight, less resource intensive than Budgie or Gnome. Still customizable, but I don't think it's as easy to break as would be the case with a KDE or an LXQt desktop. And also, again, not super resource intensive, so I think it's like a nice middle ground. And Linux Mint is actually built off of Ubuntu. So what I was using before was EdUBudgie. Ubuntu's the base with the Budgie desktop, right? This was what I was using for my base to build off of. Didn't want to go there, sorry. But because of some of the weirdness in configuring it, and because it's a little more resource heavy than some of the others, I'd like to get away from that. But I'd like to still stick with an Ubuntu-based distro. Linux Mint is based on Ubuntu and has the Cinnamon desktop. And they've done some things that are kind of nice. Like, for instance, the Linux Mint team does not like using the snap format for installing packages. And I don't either. I dislike snap in general for lots of reasons. Ubuntu is moving more and more towards using snap packages rather than using Flatpak or one of the alternatives, and rather than using the normal software center, the apt program. I prefer to use apt for my distro and their software center, and then you can add repositories if you need additional software, but not use snap and Flatpaks. And I'll give you an example why. I've got a new laptop, which I'll probably make a few videos about. I installed Ubuntu on it the other day. Went to open up just Firefox, simple, basic Firefox, and it took probably 30 seconds on a laptop which is used, but is 3 years old, 4 years old, and is pretty damn quick because it was a snap, and it had to unload all of the software from the snap format rather than using it from apt, where with apt, it just pulls system resources and opens up the program like you would normally think an operating system would, but with snap, there's a local copy of all of the dependencies that it has to open up, and it's not really a container, but it's sort of containerizing a program, kind of. Not like Docker, it's different, but similar in a way. And so opening Firefox in Snap took like 30 seconds on a brand new laptop. And the minute I installed Firefox, which I uninstalled, I just wanted to test it, but the minute I installed it from apt, it was like 3 seconds. After a reboot, like it didn't have that stuff in cache or anything. So yeah, I don't like the snap format that Ubuntu is forcing on folks, and I kind of agree with Linux Mint on that. And so I think I'd like to use Mint as the standard. But if you have an opinion about it, which one do you think looks nicer, looks better for students or teachers, please comment it so that I know. Not because I care about YouTube. I don't think I'll ever make money off of them, although I do have 151 subscribers now. Which, oddly enough, I haven't made a video in like 3 months, and I think I got like 8 subscribers in that time. I feel like people are telling me to stop making videos, maybe, but whatever. I'm just going to roll with that too. So if you got an opinion, write it down below. I'd really like to know, and maybe your opinion will end up being used. If you think I should stick with Budgie, go to KDE or Qt. Use the base Ubuntu Gnome, which is fine also, although I don't think it would be good in terms of resources. Or go with Mint. There are other options like DPIN. I don't like DPIN simply because of its ties to the Chinese Communist Party and just concerns that I have with that. Not necessarily even now, but in the future or at some time. There are a few other options, but these are the ones I've kind of pared it down to. So what do you think? Let me know. From that point, I'm going to take EdUBudgie and try to make a version off of whatever the most recent version is. Now, if it's Ubuntu, Gnome, or KDE or Budgie, I'll probably wait until April when their 2204 LTS release comes out. If it's Mint, I'll probably go from 20.3 and come out with a new version and change the name accordingly. Though it won't be EdUMint, it'll be something different. Something that's named, platform agnostic, I suppose, or desktop agnostic or whatever. Yeah. So let me know what you think down below. And luckily my holiday's coming up shortly, so I'll probably be able to make a couple of more videos and see if I get more subscribers. All right. So thanks, everybody.